And I just wanted to share something really quickly that I was thinking about with you all. Let me make sure I have this filter on correctly. So if you're joining me, um, we're going to be looking at Matthew 14:22 through 33. Welcome in, welcome in. This is a late night live. This is a late night live, and we're going to talk about Jesus real quick, and then we're going to go ahead and let you go be on your way. So I was thinking about this earlier because I was listening to this panel, and they were talking about Matthew 14:22, basically, where Peter um, gets out of the boat, where he asks God, Jesus, to call for him, and he gets out of the boat. And I'm going to read it just to refresh your memory. And for some of you who may not know what story I'm referring to, I'll read it first and then we can talk about it because I wanted to make a point about it and then we'll go ahead and go. But it's Matthew 14:22 through 33. And I think what I'll do is just go ahead and pull up the King James Version and read it first so that you can have some type of context as to what I'm talking about. And then I'll tell you what my thoughts are because something that I discovered today that I never thought about. It's a different perspective. And I had just really, like I said, never thought about it, never saw it this way. And I just want to see what your thoughts are. So if you have your Bible, join me. Matthew 14:22 through 33. You know what? Let me see if I am able to be heard right now. I'm not sure. And then we're going to go ahead and read this. Let's see. Let's see where this. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Yep. Okay. It looks like we're all set. It looks like you can hear me. Okay. Let's turn this down. All right, you guys. Let's see. So we're going to go to Matthew 14:22, 33, and then we're just going to talk about it. Again, I'll read it from the King James Version and see what your thoughts are. I'm just kind of interested to see what you think about this. As you come in, just let me know. Say hello. Hey, how you doing? Let me know if it's late. It's late here. What time of the day is it where you are? All right, so Matthew 14:22 is where we're going to start. Again, it's just to give you some context before I ask you a question because I'm really curious to know what you all think about this. And hello, how are you, Night Fox? Harvard grad, how are you? It's 3:48 p.m. Wow. Okay, what part of the world are you in? Good to see you all. Thank you for coming in. Don't forget to hit the like button. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start reading so that you all can see, like I said, have some type of foundation. And then you're in Sydney. Wow. Well, good. Welcome in. Welcome in. It's good to see you in here. All right. Thank you. Hope you're having a great day to this point. It's 3:48. So I hope you're having an awesome day. So Matthew 14:22 starts like this. It says, and this is again the story about Peter and Jesus. Where are you from, New York? No, why is it your first guest though? I'm curious. You look like you. Okay. I do sometimes when I'm sick. So there you have it. Okay, so and straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship and to go before him unto the other side while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. Hey, Beham, how you doing? Hey, Happy New Year to you too. Thank you. Have a great New Year yourself. Harvard grad, I appreciate that. So let me finish. Oh, and it says they cried out for fear. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer. It is I, be not afraid. He announced himself and he said, It's I, because remember, they thought it was a ghost. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked in the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid and beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. How many of you will also cry, Lord, save me, if you were in that situation? I know I most certainly will. How many of you cry out to the Lord like that when you are in need of help in general? If something is going on in your life, do you tend to say, Lord, save me, Lord, help me, I need you? Or do you just sit there and look? Me, I'm going to cry out to the Lord every time, Lord, help me, right? So I can completely understand why Peter said that and how he must have felt when, the winds and the waves were tossing and he cried out to him. Beautiful. Thank you, Tootie Tuts. And welcome in as well. I'll cry, Lord, please send me Geeky Girl. Okay, let me keep going. So he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. Isn't that interesting? That's the part I want to talk about. Shout out to my friends. Okay. Yeah, that's the part that I want to talk about, you all. And if you're here and you have not hit the like button, please hit the like button, because this helps me to know if you like this content or if you do not like the content, right? So it's YouTube likes it, so therefore I like it. I guess I like it because it just helps me to gauge what kind of content you all like to see. So 28 verse 28 says, and I'm pretty sure I read this, but I'm going to read it again. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? Who stretched out their hand? Do you know who stretched their hand out? Was it Peter or was it Jesus? And then it says, and when they were coming to the ship, the wind ceased. And then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth, thou art the Son of God. Now, if I were to read a different translation, you would see the wording would be a little bit different, but the storyline is still the same, right? Yeah, it's just a difference in vocabulary, basically. But my question is, okay, the first question was, would you cry out? That's what I want to know. And some of you did say you would cry out. I would definitely cry out, Lord, help me, because I'm going to call on the Lord every time. But I'm curious to know, first of all, with the winds and everything, being boisterous and moving the way that it did, I was just okay. So my first thought when I first read this, winds. Hey, Duo, how you doing? Thank you for coming in. Okay, so this is the perspective that I heard this morning. The entire time that I've ever read this story, and I've read it quite a few times, I've always thought about, wow, how bold was Peter to, ask the Lord to call him out. If it was him, call me out there and let me come and walk on water. And he did. I was thinking, wow, that's a lot of faith, right? That's faith over fear. He was no longer fearful to walk out on there and go meet Jesus, right? And I know also, I guess he was just trying to confirm that it was Jesus, but I never thought about it in this way. And I'm going to see what you're saying first before I say that. Oh, thank you, B-Ham. You know what? I just ignore when people are doing that, so don't worry about it. I appreciate you saying that, though. That's so kind. Thank you. Y'all be nice and behave. Be nice, behave, be respectful. That's all we ask for over here. Be respectful. I'm going to be respectful to you. But if I do see some things that are inappropriate, I will just handle it. We're not going to worry about it. We're not here to do that. So, I'm here to talk about Jesus. So if you like to talk about Jesus, then you'll like it here. And also, if you don't care to know who Jesus is and you just want to hear me talk, then that's fine, because maybe you'll learn something about Jesus while you're here. That's my intent. My mission is to make sure that the devil is mad every day and that he can't stand see me getting up. So Anyway, I got your back. Thank you. Shiva, how are you? Shiva. Oh, okay. All right, J Money. By the way, no cussing. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. We'll just go ahead and take care of that. All right. So the first thing I thought about, so I was listening to this panel talking about the same story that I just read to you, and that's Matthew 14:22 through 33. And no, I'm not doing that. It was 14:22 through 33. And I was listening to this panel, and they were talking about the safest place. And I was thinking, yeah, thank you, Beham. Exactly. And the thing that I thought about was that was so interesting was their perspective on how Peter, okay, so if you first hear the story, you would think to be in the boat is the safest spot, right? Naturally, we're all thinking, okay, I want to be in the boat. It's safe. The winds and the rains, it's just a safe spot. How likely is it that the winds are going to overtake? It can happen, but I'm just thinking the boat has, it contains you. It has, coverage, and the average person would think, okay, I'm going to be safe in a boat. But if you think about it, the safest place, and again, I hadn't thought about this. That's why I wanted to come share with you to see what you thought. The safest place was really outside of the boat in this particular case. Have you ever thought about that? The safest place was really outside of the boat. And you're probably like, how was the safest place outside of the boat? And I asked the same question. But if you think about it, and I want to know what you think before I say it, why do you think I would say the safest place is outside of the boat when we all know that if you're on a boat and then you have these waves that in the text it said were boisterous, and you had the winds and they were crying out in fear, they were troubled. Um, so, why would I say that the safest place would be outside of the boat? And I want to see what you think before I go ahead and say something. Luke 17:21. Okay, I see we have somebody in here that does not believe in Jesus, and that's okay. Guess what? I will not um, ever try to force somebody to believe what I believe. And I'm also the person who does not care if people don't believe what I believe. So you have a few choices, and I won't talk about it right now because it's going to take away from what I came to do in this live. I'll just ignore the comments. Okay, so the disciples, okay, so in the text, it talks about in verse, let's see, verse 24. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And I want to read a different version to see what we get for verse 24. This is going to be the amp. Okay, so for verse 24, it says, but the boat by this time was already a long distance from land, tossed and battered by the waves, for the wind was against them. Okay, I like that I like that description better because it kind of gives you an idea. Tossed and battered. That means that the winds, the waves were just hitting against the boat and just, I don't know. I just think about just, you know, the boat being tossed to and fro. And the waves just being, because it said boisterous, but the waves just overtaking, and just, I think about it doing the most, really. And in this story, I said the safest place, after again, I heard someone else's perspective on this today. I said that the safest place was really outside of the boat. And the reason I say that is because Jesus was there outside of the boat. So if you know Jesus and his character and how He's always there to rescue us and um, to protect us and to be our fortress. That's why I said the safest place is outside of the boat, which really seems, contradictory to what I've always thought about this story. But when you put things into perspective and you think about who Jesus is and how even in this story, Jesus rescues Peter when he starts to sink. When he asked him to come out, he came out into the water, and then, you know, and then he put his hand out. Jesus said, "Hey, come here." And he came and he started walking. And if you think about it, he was fine. He had his eyes on Jesus, just as we should. We should always have our eyes on Jesus. And he had his eyes on Jesus. The moment he took his eyes off and lost focus is when he started to sink. And then what happens? He starts to scream out, "Lord, help me," right? And then Jesus puts his hands out and he rescues him. And I'm sure that there have been so many different times in your life where Jesus has done the very same thing for you. He's put his hand out and he's rescued you and taken you out of those harsh, boisterous waves, or he pulled you out of those waves and protected you and then put you in a safe spot. And notice, even in this text, um, once he takes him, right, and rescues him, he puts him in the boat. They both are in the boat, and then the waves stop. They calm down. And I want to find the verse, so that you don't think I'm making it up. Let's see, it's verse. Okay, so verse 31. Immediately Jesus extended his hand and caught him, saying to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got onto the boat, the wind ceased. Then those in the boat worshipped him with awe-inspired reverence, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." So we see at the end of this particular part of the Bible, that these passages, these scriptures that are put together, that the winds and the rains were harsh, and Jesus came and rescued him. And once he got in the boat with Jesus, now the safe place again becomes the boat, right? It's no longer outside the boat because Jesus is not there. You all, the point of the story is the safest place is with God. That's the safe spot. If he is in the boat with you, that is a safe place. If he is outside, even when the winds are boisterous and the waves are taking over and rocking the boat to and fro, he is still the safest place. Why? Because that is where that's where he is. So wherever he is the safe space. That's the easy way to say that. So when he's in the boat, that's the safe space. When he's out on the water, that's the safe space. And for us, we have to choose to have faith and to believe that Jesus is the safe space, that we find refuge in him. We find peace. We find a stillness, right? And we find somebody who is ready to extend their hand and take us to the safe space. We find somebody who's ready to extend their hand and give us that safety that we desire, right? And he's not going to leave us in a situation that's bumpy, that is a catastrophe. See, what are you all saying? Christ 8547. Hey, how are you, son? I don't know what fountain of water. Okay. See, we have some. Okay. I see we have okay. So yeah, so we see that the safe space is in Jesus. And if you are going through anything in your life and you if you're going through things in your life and you find that, there are challenges and you're having a rough time, you're facing some difficulty, Perhaps you're going through some situations that you never thought you would come out of, and you're just trying to find a safe space, right? What you have to do is extend your hand. Extend your hand to Jesus and allow him to keep you. Allow him to be that safe spot. Allow him to be that safety zone. And just let him abide in you. Let him, and I want you to, like Peter did in this particular story, again in Matthew 14:22 through 33. He was afraid, and so were the other disciples. He was afraid, and until he knew it was Jesus, he was ready to go out. He was ready to walk out on water, something that is something that is not a typical act for a human being to do. Walking on water is unstable. There's no platform to hold you up and to keep you in position. So I can see how Peter's immediate response was to call for Jesus and to help him. And when he called, he answered. And just the same way that he helped Peter out of this situation and to get into that safety zone, if you will, is the same way that he can help you out. I'm not sure. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Seems like, I don't know. What do you all think about that? Those scriptures, Matthew 14:22 through 33. Yeah, it's handled. It's handled. We don't worry about that. What do you all think about Matthew 14:22 through 33? If you are somebody who believes in the Word of God and reads the Bible and you've heard this story before, what are your thoughts? How have you seen? What was your interpretation? Let me rephrase this. What was your interpretation of what happened with Peter and Jesus in this part of the Bible? Is it something that you would have attempted? But if you would have seen Jesus walking on, if you would have seen Jesus, would you have asked him to call you out there? Or would you have stayed in the boat like the other disciples? I'm a little, okay. I am a little curious just to know if you would be somebody who would, um, want to have that experience, or would you be somebody who would like to play it safe and stay in the boat? Or would you say, you know what? That's Jesus out there. I'm going to go ahead and go out there and walk on that water with him. Jesus is the way. Hi, JNF. Thank you for coming in. I see you. Who else is here? Beham. Hey. Who else? No. So that's it. Actually, I just wanted to share those thoughts with you all about Matthew 14:22, 33. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Even after this live, let me know in the comment section what you think. If you would play it safe and stay in the boat, or if you would walk out and, just kind of choose faith over fear and go out into the water and allow Jesus to rescue you, because that's exactly what happened with Peter. He allowed, not allowed, but God was being God in this particular situation. And he saw a need. He saw that Peter required assistance, and that Peter was using faith. And I believe that just like he does in our lives, he meets us where we are. He met Peter where he was in that situation. And I'm wondering if you all also had the same thoughts that I have. How like I said, I've always looked at this story in a way that, wow, Peter was really brave to go out on the water, because most people think like if you're, you're not going to be able to walk on water, right? That's what we all generally think. Um, and I've always thought, wow, that takes lots of courage, that takes lots of faith. But also, like I said, the safest place was right out there on the water. So let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think the safest place was actually out there in the water? And if not, let me know in the comment section what you think. If you think the safest place was out there in the water, are you in agreement that it was because Jesus was there? So that's it. I just wanted to know how you all, what you all thought about that, because I thought that was a very interesting way to look at that story. Because in the past, I hadn't seen it that way. What I saw was somebody taking a chance and stepping out on faith and doing something that was just unheard of, basically, right? And taking a chance because they believed that Jesus would be able to rescue them, or just because they believed and they saw Jesus and he was just like, I want to go over there. And that's how I've always seen it, that he just thought, hey, I want to be where Jesus is. But um, the two thoughts kind of coincide, or um, they're not parallel to each other, but they kind of intersect. They intersect because he could very much so want to go out there and just be like, hey, I want to be with Jesus. But he could have also, I don't know, do you think maybe he thought it was a safe space? Because why else would he feel comfortable? Why else would he feel that comfortable to just walk out on water? And I think it's because he knows, no, I know, not I think. He has this relationship. Think about it. At this time, they've been with Jesus for a while. They know his character. They know he's the Son of God. Well, it says right here, truly you are the Son of God. So they acknowledge that he's the Son of God. They knew that he performed miracles and that he did things. So I guess he was just like, hey, I'm going to go out here and just see what happens. And he did. And he did. And he was fine. And if he would have just kept his eyes on Jesus, he would have never sank. Well, I don't think so. That's my guess. I think if he would have just kept his eyes on Jesus, he wouldn't have sank. But because he took his eyes off Jesus is when he started to sink. And um, although that happened, he was still in a safety zone. He was still in the safety zone. Why? Because Jesus was there. And like I said, excuse me, you may find times in your life where, you know, you, if you are being honest and if you are willing to share your experiences, you would say that more than, I don't know, I can't even put a number on how many times Jesus has rescued me, right? So if you've had similar experiences, and if you think back, like think back to in the past, some things that have happened, you can see God's hand in things, and you can see that he's actually rescued you and kept you from sinking, right? And he helped you to find or he put you in a safe space, and his hand just needed to be extended, and you just needed to know that he was there to help lift you up. And that just carried you through, and it helped you to get through that situation that you were going through, whatever it may have been. And even in this particular case, like Peter, he was able to get back into the boat, and the wind ceased. It said the wind ceased because Jesus was there. He commanded the winds, he commanded the waters, and they were back. Everything was calm again. They didn't have to fear being overtaken by the winds or the water. And that's it. I just wonder what you all think. So if I didn't cover enough, or if you had some questions, let me know in the comment section. And I'll see you in the next video. Have a great rest of your night or day. It's early morning out here. So um, hope you have a great rest of your night, and thank you for the likes. See you in the next video.